it has been 12 months since you were last on the stage. You appeared at that time very much immediately after your appointment. You were still figuring things out, and yet you arrived with a clear plan, and if you'll pardon my language, a no bullshit approach to the interview. You spoke candidly, you spoke freely, and you did so again when we chatted last Thursday to prepare for this. And so I'd like to start, okay. Take your time, take your time. I would like to start by asking you, 12 months later, what have you learned that you didn't know a year ago on our stage?
Still good morning, I guess.
Good morning. It's been a long day for you, I know, and we're incredibly grateful that you came.
So good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I cannot imagine it's a year already. So to be honest, it feels like 40 years. But anyway, it passed very, very, very quickly. No, I think I would say reflecting on a year, I don't remember what I said, but I will say what I believe. I think walking in the job, I knew what needs to happen. And I think I still have this small sheet of paper that I started with as my target, as my objective, which I can repeat. I don't know whether it will tally with what I said last year or not. What Egypt needs is a business environment that is conducive for the private sector to lead the economic narrative for Egypt.
Yes.
Through clear, predictable, transparent policies. And I think what I said, and because I've been saying this for many years prior to taking the post, is that we need to talk about a proper monetary policy, which we have. It's working, numbers are telling. A fiscal policy, trade policy, role of the state policy, and we need to take more in deeper part. These are the 4 policies that we started with, but today we talk about land allocation policy, the need for an energy policy, and of course we need to talk about national projects for 10 years or 20 years for the Ministry of Investment and other ministries to be able to predict. The challenges that I probably outlined earlier are more clear in my mind.
Okay.
And I know the situation much better than what probably I presented in October. But I can tell you today that I see a path where I want to see Egypt as one of the most competitive destinations to attract FDI, for investors to come and invest for the next 10, 20 years. And that's probably what we will cover today.
When we spoke on Thursday, you said that the way forward is rooted in digital transformation. And it sort of struck me that a year ago, you had the plan and the ideas. The biggest difference I see in you as somebody who writes about you most days is that you figured out how these pieces of the pipe fit together, how the puzzle fits together. And you think now the answer is digital. How does that work?
That's one of the, again, the conclusions after 15 months in the job. And let's try to look at one of the challenges that we outlined last year. I think we talked about a target of an effective tax rate, that we have a parallel system of fees and levies that
Correct.
are put, but I probably, at the time, I mentioned probably 60 agencies. Correct. I think today I can exactly tell you how many agencies, and probably a number much bigger, which I'm not going to reveal today.
Okay.
But there are 96 agencies that
96.
are actually, yes. So the business community who are here today are subjected to many of those fees and levies on daily basis. And I think the contemplated vision, as I see it today, is clear. We do not want the private sector, any company in Egypt, to deal with 96 agencies. What we would want is for the business community to deal in the short term with 5 agencies. Of course, the Ministry of Finance is the right agency to that effect. But I think GAFI, for that matter, the General Authority for Investment, when we talk industry, Industrial Development Authority, when we talk tourism, Tourism Development Authority, and of course NUCA, and of course on the telecom sector. So what we would want to see is that we want to channel the large number of fees and levies that are put by these tens of agencies through these 5 agencies. But this is in the short term.
Okay.
The longer term vision is that all of these will be put on a digital platform. And the journey is not something that I promise, or at least we started. So when I realized this, and we had the meeting last year in October, I realized this is tough to deal with too many of these agencies. And again, we need to understand the logic. They depend on these fees and levies for their budgets.
Yes.
And that's a reality. But what we decided to do is that I decided to activate an approval, or at least a directive, by the Prime Minister that was there almost for 2 years, where we wanted to have what we call a permits platform. So in November, December last year, I took that directive from the President. I told him I would want to take this into action. And this is what we call as the temporary permits platform, which we launched in June.
So the platform is temporary.
This
not
is
a platform for temporary permits, but it's a temporary platform.
This is important because I have to say temporary because it's not the state-of-the-art platform. This is not what we aspire to. This is an aggregation. It's a unifying platform that connects the Industrial Development Authority, the Tourism Development Authority through URL. This is not the state-of-the-art of what we want. But we wanted to go through the connection or connecting 41 agencies offering 389 permits online. That's in itself is a transformation. The discussions with these agencies is that you need, for each service, you need to have a description. What is the service? What are the fees and for what? This is a process that needs to happen if you want to include everything on the fully digitized platform, which we can talk about now. But since I've taken that decision in June, started with 389 permits, today fully digitized, every day we add more services. Today we offer 460 services on that platform.
Okay.
Similarly, if we continue with that theme, just to give at least the audience the direction, I started thinking, okay, but this is temporary. We need to do something different. So I got another directive from the President and the Prime Minister to get to do a state-of-the-art digital platform for Egypt that can take everything from establishing a company, the permits, and ongoing needs of the businesses, approvals and other things. So you have the full-fledged scope of this, and we have this mandate. What I can tell you is that we are in the final negotiations. I hope within 3 to 4 weeks I sign this, but this is not as easy.
Okay.
So the scope is actually threefold, because one, you need to have a digital platform that is state-of-the-art, that connects seamlessly with the different agencies of the state. But if you code, and I have my friends here from the IT sector that would know this well, if you code the existing processes, you've done nothing.
Yeah.
If you code today the journey of any of you as an investor that wants to establish a business, then we've done no transformation.
Nothing's changed.
So we engage early on the year, a consultant on a sample 4 activities. And I can quote, these are the 2 cases that are on top of my mind now. The journey of an investor today to do a factory for a ready-made garment, the processes that he or she has to go through are 24 processes. And in many of which you will have to pay for a commercial register, the same, but you have to pay it for multiple times. If you want to establish an hotel today in Egypt, it's 34 processes. And the exact number of commercial registers that you have to pay and you get through that process is actually 22. It's the same commercial register. But the beauty about that exercise, and that's what we directed the consultant, is we need to ask the question, why do we need this process in the first place? It's very obvious. If you have a digital commercial register, you don't have to repeat it. You don't have to pay for it several times. And in the 2 cases, the irony is we ended up with 9 processes. 9.
To 9.
That's what you need to code. So the question became, okay, how many activities we need to model or we need to study and we need to do the re-engineering of these processes is 275 activities. And that's why the scope that I should sign, hopefully in 3 to 4 weeks, is actually on the coding side and also in the re-engineering of the journey of an investor in each and every activity. This is really due diligence. This is deep due diligence. And the third element that is very important on this platform, that it has to include all the fees and levies that are put by the 96 agencies. This is transformation. This will change the way we do business. This will enhance our competitiveness in the Doing Business report, which is now business ready. Because the whole world is shifting digitally, and we cannot move one step at a time with where we are. The leap will have to happen through digital transformation.
I'd like to shift now to FDI. You are chasing more inward investment in a shrinking global market. You've been to Czech Republic, China, Singapore, Japan, Germany, Russia, India, Spain, and that's just in the last few months. Where's the most economically significant interest coming from? And what is the pitch right now?
I think I will answer in a different way. I would want to balance my relationships. I want to balance my FDI, my trade relationships. And you'll be surprised that I will link it to trade, because I think the whole world today is linking trade and investments. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to shape the answer to that question. Historically, our largest trading partners are Europe, Middle East, and of course we talk China and Asia. Right. I would want to maintain the same balance. I do not want to see concentration in a different direction. In 10 days, we're going to the EU. We have the EU-Egypt summit. And my contemplated vision of the relationship, we have a trade deficit with Europe. It's shrinking. That's important. It's going down. Today, it's around $8 billion. It used to be much higher than this. But what I would want to talk to our partners in Europe is that it's a win-win proposition today. We would want to equalize the trade, not through tariffs, but through investments. And that's why one of the things that are today that are combined in trade is that you have to have these trade facilitation and investment facilitation agreements, what we call SIFA, Sustainable Investment Framework Agreement. So I got the approval from the cabinet that we take the relationship with Europe to a different level.
Okay.
And I spoke to the trade commissioner in my last trip to Brussels. And I think this will be hopefully announced, and we will put the guidelines. This could be a process of 2 years. But the whole idea about this is that simply you put a path for transparency, for the sharing of information that link trade and investments. And what I would want to see is I would want this comfort to the investors in Europe to come and localize. I think that relationship is an example of where we want to see. Europe needs Egypt as much as we need their investments. Really. Europe today, cost of production is, in my view, humble opinion, I'm sorry if they're in, it's very expensive.
Yes.
Cost of labor, cost of energy today, they are paying literally 4 times what the US is paying for energy. We are across from Europe. If you have a Ro-Ro line today, it's less than 2 days you are in Europe. We have the right infrastructure to bring these investments into Egypt and to localize. Cost of labor is very attractive. You have the engineering talents. You have the connectivity between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. It's actually working. Yep. So what we need is these investments, and they need comfort. So these are the dialogues that I would want to have. Similarly, when I visited China, it's the same. We cannot continue. China trade deficit is 15 billion. And by the way, China trade relationship with the rest of the world is always in their favor. That's why you see these tariffs that are coming up, because we have to acknowledge, and again, I don't want to generalize, China built capacities that are today way above the world needs. I can give you 2 sectors, just solar panels. Today, China's production capability in the solar production output can get to 1,000 gigawatts per year. 1,000 gigawatts per year. The whole world consumption, new installed last year, 500 to 600. Yeah. They actually are half of this. So they have this abundance. So whether you call this subsidy, there is embedded subsidy in that. There is embedded, again, in many cases, and dumping practices.
Yeah.
So we need to be very careful about this. And that's the message. I told the Chinese, if you need to come to Egypt, we're open, but you need to deepen your local manufacturing. Because why? Europe is telling us very clearly, we are not going to allow anyone to use you as a backdoor to Europe. So it's getting very complicated. But what I can tell you is that I'm having these very open, honest discussions with everyone. We need to make sure that we have equitable trade balances, trade relationships through investments and trade. That's how I see it. So I would want to balance the relationship, but we're seeing interest from these three continents as we speak to them.
So we are open to trade and investment at the same time as other people are closing. You spoke last year about 5 sectors where we would determine where to play and how to win. And I love that line, where to play and how to win. You've since identified 5 broad priorities, but when we were talking on Thursday, you broke that down into ready to promote versus ambitious bets. What does the sectoral priority list look like? Can you unpack that for us, this ready to promote versus ambitious bets?
So what I probably mentioned to you is my early contemplations of what I see in the market. What we've done, we had the World Bank working with us to deliver an FDI strategy, which was delivered towards mid-December, and we've been working with them to finalize the document. The document talks about these ready-to-promote sectors and, of course, the ambitious sectors. I don't have the sectors on top of my head, but you have the list that I gave you, but you can quiz me on this. But it's tourism, it's IT, it's, again, intermediate industries, it's agriculture products. These are sectors that we can see really a lot of interest. Of course, textiles on that sector today. You have a pipeline of a lot of investors coming and interested in that field.
Yep.
And these sectors today are very obvious winners for Egypt. If you take ready-made garments today, the cost of production in Egypt is literally 20% of that in Turkey. Turkey exports ready-made garments of $30 billion. Our total exports in that field is literally $2 to $3 billion.
2 to 3.
Again, I put targets like any of you in the private sector. If I want to capture, I think the easy target for us on that sector alone should be $12 to $15 billion. Because we're seeing that interest from not only the Turkish companies, which are already in Egypt, but you're seeing that from the Chinese and different other countries in the world. The intermediate industries today, despite the fact that we don't have, in terms of the automotive industry, we don't have a large OEM.
Correct.
But in the wire harnessing business, for example, we have the who's who of that industry globally, already in Egypt. This is a labor-intensive part of the feeder industry and the automotive. And we're seeing more. On the automotive, we're looking into a strategy of that automotive. So already on the automotive development program that we revised, we have 4 companies signing up for that will take the production much higher from where they are today. And we're still looking for one of those or a new company to be the large OEM to pull the whole market. Of course, tourism is very clear and obvious. But again, the reality today, the challenge and of what we're trying to do today is that we want on these ready-to-promote sectors, and this is a work that is ongoing, is that we need to talk concrete numbers, let's take tourism. What I want in tourism is to have a map for Egypt. And you say, we are today, and we know the numbers, and this is where we want to be in 2030, and of course 2040. And these are the locations, these are the new destinations, and these are the rooms that we need. But not only this. I want to take the land, each piece of land, and I take the pre-approval for these opportunities. That will cut automatic. So the investor will come. These projects are approved from Hyatt, of course, you have the infrastructure that is available. Okay. You don't have to go and knock the door on many agencies for the utilities, the water, the electricity, and the CO2.
It's on the shelf. You take it off.
Exactly. So we're starting, the pilot that we agreed to do is actually tourism. We agreed this on the cabinet last week, that we will do this map for tourism, and then we'll start with a new sector. But more importantly, our holistic approach on these sectoral deep dives which, by the way, we want to engage international players. So we've done the 13 sectors but with the World Bank. Today I'm asking some of the international IFIs to help us with the deep dive. Tourism is not about hotels only. It's about the ecosystem that connects. It's from the airport, from transportation, utilities, services, and so on. That's what we want to do for each and every sector on these lists.
When we talked last week, you said you would be unhappy with 25% annual export growth, that you'd like to see it be 2, 2.5, 3, 4 times that level within 3 years. And you used an interesting analogy comparing 2004 to 2008 to today. Can you explain to our guests today how you see getting from 25% growth today to 3, 4, 5 times that number 3 or 4 years down the road?
You're talking FDI.
FDI and exports together.
So I don't know if I mentioned this last year. So what we want to build, and again, I talk on we because the economic team and a wider number of ministers we talk about this, is that we would need to get to growth in GDP that is sustainable and higher. The only plug factor here is the FDI, local investments and the foreign direct investments. And what we see today is that the historical numbers of FDI ranges between $8 to $10 billion. That's the historical. But there is an opportunity for Egypt in this time exactly to attract more. And again, I have to put between brackets, this is not easy. This is challenging because the global FDI numbers are actually in decline for the last couple of years. Around 11 to 12% decline the last couple of years. Having said that, and the challenge on this, and I'll come to the numbers, is that we need to be seen as the most competitive destination. It's all about structural reform. Our ability to deliver our structural reform as fast as possible will get us to the numbers. 20-30% increase in our FDI, I think we're already achieving this year. I think the 3 quarters numbers are around $9.8 billion, so I think we will get to 12 billion. From what I see, I was visiting the SC zone over the weekend, and if you look at the investments that are being put over the last 3 to 4 years, we're talking almost 10 billion on that area alone. So the reality, there is an influx, but what I would want to see with the proper mapping of these sectors, again, if you take the numbers, dissect them by sector, tourism between now and 2030, if we target $30 billion to attract, it's not a big number. If you take this in renewable energy, if you take it sectoral, you can see, because today the challenge is, where is the opportunity? The journey of the investor to get an hotel today is a very lengthy process. So that's what we want to change completely.
It all fits together.
But again, what we want to see is more a hike up in FDI, because we deserve it, if we do the accelerated reforms that we're talking about. And that's what will get us to 6 to 7% sustainable growth. This is where eventually, all of what we're talking about is why we do this. Because after 3-4 years of high inflation, the question comes to every individual in Egypt. We work for the people of Egypt. It's inflation.
Yeah.
The only thing that will matter at a certain point of time is that they feel the economic results in their pockets, that the pound can buy more. Their salaries are increasing. And that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
And you need to accelerate the growth in GDP. That's what matters. And what I ask, again, the private sector, salaries are increasing. Most of the industrial manufacturing companies are actually reaching capacity today. They are expanding. So again, with the very few things that we've done over a year, the whole team, there is a very good momentum, but we need to continue that momentum.
Speaking of momentum, we have 3 minutes because I've made you a hard promise to get you off the stage at 11:30. I'm going to ask you questions in rapid succession. You have 1 sentence for each. It's going to be a challenge for us both. Privatization, where does it stand in 1 sentence? What can we expect of it this year?
still on top of the agenda. It's the one element that we need to go faster. I think one thing we've done is the SOE unit, which we finalized the law in the summer. We're hiring for it. And why we talk about this unit? Because this unit is going to be the vetting unit, which companies to move to the divestiture unit, which companies to go to the sovereign wealth fund. The same thesis I gave to the sovereign wealth fund is what I'm upholding, is again, again maximizing the return on these assets for the Egyptian. It's the future generation fund for Egypt.
1 year ago, we had an average customs clearance time of 14 days. You said you wanted to bring it down by half. A few people laughed. It's 5.8 days today. Can you get to 2 before the end of the year?
Yes, we will get to 2 days by the end of the year.
And
I know the measures. I think we're on it.
And beyond that?
And I'm not going to settle for 2 days. So
what's the target?
The target has to be ours. And with the risk management system that we're enacting, with the joint work that we're doing with the customs and the Ministry of Finance, the momentum is there. The boldest decisions are already behind us. Today we know about the exact measures that we talk about, the electronic bill of lading, what matters to these. So I'm not talking today. When I mentioned this, it was important to set a target for the 27 agencies. It's not only the work of my ministry. Yep. It's the work of 27 agencies. When you abolish holidays historically, forever we've been taking Friday and Saturday off. Forever we've been working literally less than 2,000 hours. Today we're working 4,000 hours. The Friday is still short in the efficiency, but that's historical. But why? I follow every weekend.
Every weekend.
I follow on these things every weekend.
I love it.
And the issue when it comes to Friday is not the government. Actually, when I visited on Saturday, they complain that the private sectors, companies, are not coming. That's the issue. So now
they don't want to be there on Friday or Saturday.
Yes.
All right, it's on us. Minister, will you come back next year and do this again?
Sure, if you invite me.
We'll invite you.
Still around.
We will invite you. Minister, thank you so much for your time today.
I
really appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
You're awesome. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, thank you.